This is the final word, Ashes Daily, Edgbaston, day 3, the first test. It's Jeff Lemon, it's Adam Collins. It's brought to you by Westfield, more extra, less ordinary. And, Adam, you're going to have to tell us about the day in 30 seconds. It's not a full day, so that might make it a little bit easier. 30 seconds, that's what you got. 5
for 311, Australia resumed on a 311 for 5, depending on when you went to school. Khawaja out for 141 after Carey was knocked over by Anderson for 66. They lose 5 for 75 at the stroke of lunch. They're all out for 386, which leaves them 7 runs in arrears. Pat Cummins, an important 38, batting at number 8. They come out after lunch, they bowl poorly. None for 26. They come back after a rain delay and take 2 for 2 from 22 balls, including Crawley and Duckett, whose dismissal we will talk about because Green's catch was a screamer. England close at 28 for 2. They're 35 runs in the black with 2 days to go.
There we go. 2 days to go. We had a fair bit of rain. They were sort of flirting with trying to get back on at about 6 p.m. But
gee, they give it a red hot go.
They did. The umpires kept. There was an hour and a half there where I thought they could call it at 4:30, and they went, "No, we'll wait. And fair enough. It didn't work out in the end. It's very dark. If you're watching the video, you'll be able to see how glum and grim it is. And
well, this would have been the time they were. It would have been 13 minutes from the time we're recording when play would have. They wouldn't have got back on with bad light. I think it's the reality of the situation.
And this is about how dark it was when Crawley and Duckett were batting in that second stint of 22 balls. It was hard work out there. But let's start with the start of the day. I thought, well, particularly once the Australian innings wrapped up, England would have been very happy with how things went at that stage. They had Khawaja resuming on 126. They had Carey resuming on 52. And they worked through them fairly expeditiously, aside from the partnership between Cummins and Khawaja. Cummins ended up making 38. But, I mean, Carey, first over, big drive, inside edge, Bairstow drops that. Then a couple overs later, he whacks a couple of boundaries, he edges 1 for 4, and then he's bowled through the gate by Anderson. They've got rid of him for 66 in pretty quick time. And then, the Cummins and Khawaja partnership, Khawaja scores very slowly through that. He bats through most of the session, but only adds 15 runs in nearly 2 hours, including a 6 right at the start. So he almost didn't score after he hit the 6 and Carey got out. It was a strange kind of codicil to his wonderful 100 from yesterday.
Yeah, I think at the time I was cool with it because I've said all along, I stand by the position I took into the test that batting bulk overs is the best way of putting pressure on England at the moment, not letting them play in fast forward the way they prefer to, and letting them, like even the fact that it'll definitely go to a day 5 now is partly informed by the way that Khawaja batted this morning, right? So yeah, I agree. No scoreboard pressure necessarily, but different kind of pressure there. And to go back to Cummins, like he got really worked over at the start. The sorts of fields that Stokes was setting, I'm sure we'll come back to this in a sec for the way they got through them, but they were really going after Cummins with the short stuff, and he didn't look comfortable, and he got through it and found a way to score and put the foot down at times. And it helped that Cummins and Ali was off the field with a finger that's just not adequately ready to bowl spells of 30 overs plus, and fair enough.
Is it ripped open from the seam?
It's ripped open from the seam. So his spinning finger, he's got a spinner's injury, right?
Yeah.
It's just that instead of having the chance to, dip his finger in urine like Ashley Giles used to do, or other ways that spinners have, and he got fined 15% of his match fee or something like that
for dipping his finger in urine. Just went to one of the stalls. He's like, "Do you mind?"
For the drying of his hands yesterday. I'm not sure if that necessarily related to the finger, maybe not. But the point is that
it was an unauthorised drying agent, which, as I said at the time, sounds like someone sneaks into your house and does your laundry. It's a weird kind of phrase, but and using a spray to dry your hands seems odd because the spray is by definition moisture particles being projected at you.
It's like when we hear about when you hear about Grippo going on the hands of footballers to take marks more easily. I guess it's the same kind of thing.
Okay.
If you don't tell the umpires, anyway. Point is, Cummins and Ali not being there gave Cummins the chance to set into a bit of a rhythm.
Sure.
But at the same time, wickets were falling down the other end, and Australia's tail was never going to be overly threatening after him. Lyon out for 1, Boland out for a duck, Cummins last man out. Hazelwood didn't fire a shot. So we always knew that one wicket...
He made 1 run. He played very nicely, played a little guide behind point, got off strike, and then Cummins was like, well, I can't rely on Hazelwood, and just tried to slog a 6 and got himself out. Who knows what Hazelwood would have done?
True.
I thought he comported himself very well.
He did make 38 batting with Adam Voges when Voges made his tested 100 on debut in Dominica all those years ago.
And he made a 50 partnership with Marcus Stoinis in which Hazelwood didn't face a ball in that one day at Auckland when Hazelwood was eventually run out at the non-strikers end, Diamond Duck.
There you go.
Things you learn.
Things you learn. So I think 7 for 75. I would have thought that had you said to Australia at the start of the day, you'll be batting at lunch, and they effectively were. They were out in the over before or something like that. They would have gone, that's about right.
Yeah.
Even if they would have liked maybe 25 more runs for the psychological advantage of being in the black, they've effectively offset that by taking 2 early wickets.
That's what I thought with the Khawaja bit, though. And I know it's very easy to be critical after the fact, but I thought it's not like he needed to go out there and smash the bowling around, but I thought he could have been a bit more proactive, and particularly when you're starting to bat, okay, you're batting with Cummins and so on, you've got the tail to come, things could end quickly. You know that things could end quickly, and I thought if he'd shown a little bit more appetite to score and pushed them on by another 20 or 30 runs and got them into a little bit of a lead by the time they were out, that's a better position to be in. You just feel better as a team knowing that you're going in even with only a small advantage.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I definitely see your point. I see your point. I think the other side of it is that had he played expansively this morning and got out, it would have sped up the decline.
But not expansively, just that there were so many dot balls.
No, sure. But the point I'm making is that he made sure that England had to field for one more session.
Yeah.
He was the main factor in that. So anyway, we're going around in circles a bit.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll come back to that in Hall of Fame. But and the other bit is I think Nathan Lyon deserves a clip for how he batted. That was ridiculous. So the number of times that Nathan Lyon has said to us in press conferences, "Oh, I don't know how to bat, mate." It's like his go-to line. He has to be self-deprecating and humble and say that he can't do it, which isn't true. He can bat.
He can.
He's just about made a Test 50 before. He's made a number of useful 20s and 30s.
Probably
and
made 4 40s, I'd say.
Yeah, and sometimes he counter-attacks and slogs them, and sometimes he takes them on, like Mark Wood with the pull shot when he was hitting sixes during the last Southern Ashes. But sometimes he plays a little bit more sensibly, and he can actually be a useful addition. He goes out there, he faces 6 balls, 5 of them are short balls. He's got 6 fielders out on the hook, and he tries to hook all 5 of the short balls. He misses 2 and gets hit on the body. He misses 1 completely. He top edges 1 that goes for a single in between 2 of the catches, and then he just hits 1 straight to deep square leg and gets caught. It was genuinely stupid. I just didn't understand the point. Like, if they've got 6 out for the hook, okay, sure, you're like, oh, I'm going to back myself in and play my shots. Or not, or don't, or just get out of the way of the ball. You don't have to play a hook shot at a short ball if they've got everybody back for it. And it was a waste because Cummins was playing well. Like, they could have batted for another hour if he'd been able to settle in and do a job, and he just didn't. It's like he couldn't be bothered trying to do it. He was like, no, it's my story that I can't bat. That's the story, and I'm going to stick to it.
Again, I wouldn't quite see it that way. I'd say that Cummins talks a lot about wanting to fail the way you succeed, and like Lyon's second best shot behind the sweep is the hook.
Not with 6 catches out of it.
No. But I mean, he's going to play the shot 'cause it's his best shot. He's going to back himself to be successful with it anyway.
But that is genuinely self-destructive. If everybody is waiting for you to play that shot to get you out, and the way he plays it is in the air. Like, that's what he does. He takes on bowlers, and that's fine to do when they've got a fine leg and there's a lot of space out there, and fortune is more likely to go your way. But if they've got literally 6 out, a square leg, a mid-wicket, a deep square leg, a backward square, a short leg, they're all waiting for you to top edge the hook shot, it's just not smart.
And he's a spot too high anyway. He's batting at 9, he should be at 10 or 11. He's played most of his career at 11. But yeah, we're probably splitting hairs on what is a pretty small, insignificant, relatively speaking, part of the day today. The most important part of the day came after lunch when Australia got the chance to bowl. And their first stretch wasn't good. None for 26 when the first rain delay hit. And they did not bowl well. There was something, felt like something wasn't quite right with Cummins. He took a pill, I think, at one point. Didn't
throw up the glow sticks.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that.
Head to revolver straight after this.
Jerry Kimber picked up on him, sort of favouring one shoulder. Anyway, the point is that...
And he bowled straight.
Drifting onto the pads.
They had a mid-wicket in and they were bowling straight, and it was just getting dinked into the leg side.
Yeah, and he was attacking the stumps and trying to get leg before wickets or bowls, taking advantage, I suppose, of the slow surface. But very shortly it was back to 1 slip in a gully and the field spread, and you could see where it could have drifted. But they were... aided by the first rain delay, and they come back immediately following that, and the game is different because the overheads are different. And as we've seen across 3 days here, well, specifically yesterday morning and in that mini session today, when the clouds are out, the ball's swinging, and that's great because it does add an extra element, and that's exactly what we saw with an exhilarating 22 deliveries. It felt like an hour of cricket. It was not even 4 overs, but he saw fit to bring Boland into the attack. This is Cummins, and replace Nathan Lyon.
Cummins finds his spot. There's this Cummins line and length that's sort of copyright him. It's not unique. It's like hitting the top of off stump is not unique, but it's like when he hits that length, he just gets the ball to do a little bit either way off the seam.
It's the scramble seam. It's the wobble seam, right? He does the wobble seam thing as well as anyone in the world. He digs the Mariana Trench on the 4th stump line and just works his way down it through and over. But this was him bowling fuller. Out of that series of options of where he likes to pitch it, and it was far more accurate. It was more around the line of the 4th stump than it was the middle and off stump, which is angling into the pads. That's why they were able to take him into the onside. And the way he did it to Duckett was, again, we spoke a lot about Hazelwood a couple of days ago, setting Duckett up by bowling balls that he could feel, then giving him one outside that was a tempter. So it was again, playing with the angled bat. Cameron Green drags in a catch. The third catch with 1 mitt in a week, where he's had to keep his fingers under the ball like it was in the second innings of the World Test Championship final. The degree of difficulty on that at his height, even to get to the contest, let alone having the presence or the physicality to keep his fingers underneath the ball sufficiently well. Sure, they're big fingers, but you've got to get there, and you've got to have the wingspan, and he's got to have the athleticism. He's got all of it happening at the same time. And I just don't believe I've ever seen a fielder in that position, acknowledging that Joel Garner was clearly a brilliant gully fielder, but I didn't get to watch all of his career. We weren't around for the bulk of it.
Much of it, yeah. Really.
I've seen a lot of highlights of him taking great catches, but it just feels like Green is the next level, and he's making gully sexy again.
Making gully
he is
sexy.
Four slips was de rigueur until 5 minutes ago. Now 3 slips and a gully's back because of Green.
They did look at it on the replay, and for a minute we were like, oh God, here we go again. But this one sort of hit the heel of the hand and went down into his fingers. And so it was easier to tell what was going on the replays with that catch, and Duckett gave himself out once he saw the first couple of replays and started wandering off the field.
That's not sustainable from Duckett. I mean, we've been talking about it on our commentary. I was doing a spot with Michael Vaughan before as well. If you want to be a long-term Test opener in England, playing at everything is going to mean you're going to create chances because the ball moves laterally and you're an opener, and it's the Dukes, and there were overheads today. Like there are 4 or 5 things working against you there.
It's bugged me a little bit that because people have pumped him up for it. They're like, oh, listen to this great stat. He's never played a league.
He's a baseballer.
And it's like, okay, some things are convention because they work, because people have tried the other way and it has failed consistently enough that they learn to stop doing it. Like there are reasons. Like not everything that is conventional is boring and stupid and old and should be discarded. Some things are convention for a reason.
And again, it kind of, if he wants to be successful in the series, he'll have to combat this every single time. They're going to know that early on you let him field a few and let him field in a little bit. Remember, he was 10 from 10 today, mostly through the leg side. Then they're going to go, right, temp to time, and if he can't resist, he's going to nick a lot of balls this summer, and that'll become a problem for England sooner rather than later, which is a shame for him because I rate Ben Duckett. I think that he's got natural ball striking ability up there with the very best of them, and I want him to succeed. But to do so, he's going to have to find a way to be disciplined to leave balls in that channel, or he's going to be, especially bowlers like Cummins, who we've talked about the wobble seam accuracy he's got. When he's on a good day, he'll give him 2 balls and over, which are get-out balls, and it's a question as to whether he can rationalise leaving them in his head, and that'll be a conversation I'm sure they're having in the dressing room.
And you can punt bowlers around in the championship, and it's a different level. It's
in
not
Pakistan
the
as well, right?
You know.
In Pakistan when it's slow, and this is slow too. If it's happening on a slow track, what about when they rock up at Lord's next week, which has been quick the last couple of years?
And then you've got Crawley. Who,
what a ball.
I mean, he gets out in a Crawley sort of way, but there's not much you can do about it.
Great ball.
So Boland comes on and he just hits the Boland MCG length, basically. He gets the ball to deck away ever so slightly. This is what I like about Boland, is that when he gets the ball to move, it's very rarely extravagant movement. It's the tiniest bit of movement, and it's just enough to clip the edge. And Crawley's playing almost like 1920 style. He sort of gets the leg there, and the bat's almost tucked in behind it as he's just protecting the line of off stump, and it just moves away enough to just the tiniest little click on the way through.
Yeah, it's subtlety from Boland. It's never exaggerated movement, with the exception of the big off-cutters that he bowled last week at the Oval. More often than not, he's getting players out on the basis of subtlety, and so it was with Crawley today. There'll be the usual band of haters of Crawley, and that's fine. That's the way it goes if you're a player who's got a poor record and you get out defending. I saw a CricViz stat saying he gets out defending more than anyone ever or something like that, but he also gets out playing expansive shots, right? So today was an example of getting out to a good piece of bowling when Boland was on a roll, and he nearly nicked off route as well. There was the
and there was a couple of LBW shouts.
LBW shout, but it was the play and miss where they went upstairs thinking they'd heard something. Had they been correct and had it been Root's edge, Boland just has a knack of taking wickets in clumps, and he is going to prove to be a challenge for England. And remember, that's 2 days after probably his toughest day in Test cricket. 1 for 86 when it's 6.1 and over in the first innings. England probably thought, we've got this guy's measure on surfaces like this. Well, great response in conditions that were better suited to the Victorian.
So they're 2 for 28, 28 for 2 overnight. They'll come back with a couple of days to go and see where they can set up the game, see whether we lose any more time as we go forward. But there's not much point making predictions. Should we Hall of Fame? because it's starting to rain as well.
Oh, right, yeah, my only prediction is they won't bat for more than 2 sessions if they're still going. Either way, they're going to give themselves 4 sessions to bowl because Ben Stokes has told us they're not going to accept draws, and if you only leave 3 sessions, you are broadly speaking accepting the possibility of a draw. So if you go by what he said before the series, there's really no scenario where they're batting, I wouldn't have thought, after tea tomorrow. They'll be all out, or they'll be, doing what they always do. And how they respond, they talk about responding to adversity the way they get into trouble. It'll be compelling if Australia really go at them tomorrow, if it's cloudy again, and Root and Pope try and respond in kind. That will be, again, probably the best cricket we've seen so far.
In 1 second, it'll be the Final Word Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is all about what's the most final word moment of the day, the things we liked, the things we enjoyed, occasionally the things we didn't, the things that stood out. It's brought to you by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. They are both Westfields and they're both in London, and one's at one end and one's at the other end. So whichever end of London you're at, you can find one. It's still Father's Day today. If you're listening to this and you're really late, you could still maybe, take your dad down to Sixers and pop him in the nets, take him down to All-Star Lanes and do some bowling, take him down to the baseball joint and hit some dingers.
And
whatever.
buy him a tie, or do as my fiancée Rach did with Winnie and buy matching bluey pyjamas, which probably didn't come from Westfield, truth be told. But it's, again, getting in the spirit of giving. Westfield's a great place to do exactly that. You can see the vast array of options on the website, westfield.com/United Kingdom/London. One of the people coming to my wedding has heard our conversations on here. Tomorrow, he's going to Westfield, London, and buying a suit for the wedding.
Okay.
Because we told him so.
Well, why not? Why not do that? Maybe I will do the same. I obviously am not carrying a suit because when have you ever seen me carry a suit?
More extra, less ordinary.
Look, there's that to think about. There's also the fact that we caught up with a bunch of Final Word listeners last night and learned this is my Hall of Fame nomination. There's a game going on called Final Word, I think it's Final Nerd Combat Listening.
Right.
Which is that we're producing so many shows at the moment that if you have more than 2 unlistened shows in your feed, you have lost, you're out of the game. And it's a survival mechanism to see who can stay in the game the longest. So basically you have to be able to listen to whatever episode comes out as soon as it comes out, because if another one drops before you've got to the current waiting one, then you're gone.
So our quite good story time that came out this morning will need to be consumed in totality before they get to...
Before we release this show, because this show's going to knock out quite a few people.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope people listen to story time. And if you didn't, it's pretty good. You can learn about a guy called Lionel Pallaret.
Yep.
It's a good story, worth tuning in for, and many others along the way.
Yeah, you can also learn about the San Francisco Unicorns in
what they do.
Major League Cricket in the US. There are plenty of things going on. Now, what else have we got? Hall of Famey.
I saw a guy in a poncho today. This was picked up by Phil Long, our statistician on SEN, who stood there with the poncho on, looking out towards the eastern side of the ground for 3 hours without moving. He probably received a shift last night or something, as often it is with stewarding. Standing out in the pouring rain in a poncho. Fair play, man. You've done your job today. You've earned your wage, and I hope he has a really nice cup of tea waiting for him at home.
Wow.
A nomination for the ground staff. They gave it absolutely everything to get on tonight. The easy things to do to go slow in a situation like that. I think credit to umpire Erasmus and umpire Raza as well. Because even though we all get a bit shirty upstairs and talk about, they're not getting on, they're going to call stumps anyway. Like it's their their prerogative and B, their responsibility to be seen to be doing the right thing. And they tried their very, very best. And how about Ben Stokes in the balcony kind of pretending that he wanted to go on? It might be true. He might have saw half an hour tonight as an opportunity to add 50 more runs. Usually it's the batting side who are desperate not to continue. So they're my nominations, in addition to the fact that we came within 7 runs of a tie in the first innings. And as you know from story time, that's only happened 8 times.
Right. I'm going to throw in one more nom for Usman Khawaja, who, so 140, his big one against South Africa and Adelaide, 141, his one in Dubai, and 141 again today. So his important hundreds tend to be couched around the same number. And the bit upstairs where Ben Stokes brought in the umbrella field and a bunch of people upstairs were grumbling, saying, oh, this is just nonsense. Look, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Works well.
And then Khawaja tries to drive it through the open spot at backward point, leaves his gate open and loses his stumps.
And got a send-off from Ollie Robinson, which I thought, it's more, I mean, I'm not sort of offended by it. I know I said something on radio that's gone a little bit around the internet, but look, here's the deal. Like, if you're going to give him a real proper send-off as he did, probably not. The guys made a beautiful 141. Like, it just felt like, I'm not anti kind of getting up a batter.
Probably not a send-off that is, quote, fuck off, you fucking dick.
I think he said fuck off, you fucking prick.
Oh, fucking prick,
it just like, Khawaja, like, pick your moments, pick your time. Like it just, I saw Ollie Robinson have a complete meltdown at Radlett in the 2020 season in a county game where he was abusing everyone, should have been suspended for abusing the umpire. So I know he's probably made quite a few steps to become a better person since what was revealed on his test debut day. But yeah, he's still got like some degree of white line fever that comes out in weird ways.
All right, it is raining fairly hard right now, so let's call this off. This has been The Final Word Daily, the Ashes Daily. You can support us at patreon.com/thefinalword, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 4.
More extra, less ordinary.